In our girlfriend theme today, I found that my icon for
passion,
what's become my theme for girlfriend gifts are my little gift boxes. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about the girlfriend show, I really hadn't thought of these boxes in terms of that. But Mama Aline came in the studio the other day, and she looked at this and she says, "Oh, I love that box. Can I have it?"
And no, she said, "Can I love that box?" And then I think we said, "Do you want it?" And she goes, "Yes, can I have it?"
And then she looked at me. I said, "I made that, Mom." And she goes, "You made that?" And I said, "Yes, I craft." And so it was so cute to see that she, in the midst of our whole studio here, that she found this little box. Mm-hmm. So it truly has become the girlfriend box. So I would
the mom box.
Or the mom box. So I would like to show you how I create my girlfriend gift boxes. The first step in this project is to select your box. I found some really cool wooden boxes at the craft store. Super cool shapes, inexpensive, and they work perfect for this project. The first thing I like to do is check the edges and see if they need to be sanded. You can just run your sandpaper along the edges on the top, on the inside. That just takes the rough edges away. Then you are ready to paint. So you'll want to base coat your box both inside and out with the colors of your choice. And usually I found on these boxes that one coat of paint is perfect. So I am going to paint my box both inside and out. My box is now base coated inside and out, and I chose to use the same color both on the inside and the outside. And so now it's time to stamp and stencil. I love to collect rubber stamps, and so what I have here are a few of my favorite old-fashioned wood stamps. And I use cosmetic sponges and acrylic paint rather than ink. And the reason I like to do that is that if I make a mistake, I can just use a wet wipe and take it back off. When you're using ink, it's not quite as forgiving. So when you're using your acrylic paints, you do want to season your stamp with the paint first. So I just put a coat on, let it set for just a few moments, and then add my second coat. Then you will definitely get a better stamped image. And you want to move fairly quickly. Let's go ahead and work on the bottom of the box first. Each time you stamp, you have to add ink one more time. You don't need to season it each time because you only do that once, but you do need to come back and add your ink, or add your paint rather. Every time, just dab it on straight up and down. One thing I have found with the less expensive boxes, the surface is not always real smooth. So don't worry about that. If your design stamps along the entire surface or it doesn't, we can actually come in and use other stamps to fill that in. The whole idea behind these boxes are that they're very whimsical, and so it's okay if your stamp design is not perfect. I'm going to season my next stamp design. Let it set for just a moment. Now I come back with my second layer of paint, and then I can stamp. So So what I'm going to do now is complete all of my stamping, and then I want to show you how to stencil. I have stamped every surface that I can, both around the outside edge, the bottom, and the inside. You notice any place where my stamp didn't stamp, I just take one of my little tiny stamps and fill in that area. You can see here it's too hard to stamp around the hinges, so I just use that same small stamp. On the bottom I put some of my little swirls, which by the way are the symbol for gratitude, and I stamped the top edges, added some more of my little bursts, my little star bursts there, and then put the little gratitude symbol right in the inside. So now I want to stencil the top of my box, and Crafter's Workshop has the most incredible stencils. Look at the detail on this. So the theme for this box is dragonflies, and of course this design is perfect. And once again I use my acrylic paint and my cosmetic sponge. And when you tap straight up and down, you're wanting to pick up that paint evenly on the bottom of your sponge. So tap straight up and down. It doesn't take a lot of paint. Don't oversaturate this. This is a very fine stencil, so you want to keep that design without oversaturating. And you're just holding it in place gently, tap up and down. And you don't have to have a solid coat of the black paint. You can see it gives you a beautiful effect without having to apply too much paint. So just dab that on, hold it in place. There are stencil adhesives if you feel that you would rather not try to hold on to the stencil while you're stenciling. Just get some spray-on or dab-on stencil adhesive at the craft store and put it onto the back of your stencil. Cool. So cool. Love this design. So that gives me a hint of the dragonflies with some really intriguing circles. The next thing you're going to want to do is to let this dry completely. Then we will come back and we'll talk about embellishing the top of the box and putting feet on the bottom. Let's talk about the ways that you can finish off this gift box. This is usually the stage where I leave my boxes when I am creating them in advance. So that gives me several different design options when I want to complete it. So I grabbed some of the mosaic tile pieces out of Eco Heidi Studio, and I have glued them together with the Aleene's 7800 glue to create feet for my box. And as you can see, I've stacked them and turned them, so that gives it a little bit more whimsy, a bit more intrigue for the box. So I created 3 stacks of those to use those for the feet. For the top, what I like to do is just play with some different design options. So these are more of those tile pieces. So that would pick up the same design element that you have on the feet. If you want to add some jewelry pieces to the top, I like that. That's really pretty. I have a much smaller dragonfly. He seems a little bit too subtle for the top. So I would probably finish off my box with this one, or use one of those flat backed marbles for the top so that you can actually raise this dragonfly so it looks like he's perched on top of the center of a flower. So you're going to want to play around with your design. What I also grabbed were my Aleene's tacky dot singles, and I like these because I can use them to adhere. You just peel that clear liner off to reveal the glue, and then you pull that back off. I can use the little tacky dot singles if I want to just put a little decor down on the inside. That way, whomever I give this to, it can stay more permanent, or if my girlfriend decides that she wants to change that out or take that piece and craft with it, she can easily remove it out of this box. Remember, the longer that tacky stays on there, the more permanent it's going to be. Another thing that you might want to think about is adding a glossy finish to the top of your box. It really adds a nice dimension. You can use your 3D glaze, you can use your other glazes that add a really nice glossy coat to the top. And that is how I create my girlfriend boxes. As we talked about earlier, I make these by the dozen. I paint the boxes up in advance, and sometimes I'll stamp them in advance, but I don't always put the little jewel on them until I'm ready to actually give them.
And that's what actually gives them their theme, too. It just kind of pulls them all together. And I love that this is a piece of jewelry, isn't it? I love that.
Have you seen my jewelry box?
Wait a minute. Have you seen mine?
What are you talking about? So many of your pieces are in my jewelry box, or are you talking about you have another box?
I think I'll say both of that.
Well, but wait a minute. Finders keepers, losers you lose, because you sent them back to Candace Sister's studio. Right. I put them into a box.
Right.
I have charge of them.
But
so it's my jewelry box that does have some of Heidi's.
But
jewelry.
You haven't been back on my shelf to see my collection.
That's what I was trying to get you to clarify. You mean I've just exposed my whole soul, giving away that I have your jewelry. I didn't need to do that?
I already knew it.
Okay, so you were talking about your own jewelry. Oh well.
Deep down that dark aisle back there. The no man's eye, the aisle.
I'm gonna have to go check that out, because I have more room in my jewelry box for Heidi's jewelry. I think I need to move some of yours over.
No, it's mine.
But it is fun to take pieces of jewelry. You know, you can find them at yard sales, garage sales. Pieces that we've actually crafted for books have ended up in this stash.
Well, to me, the jewelry pieces are kind of like buttons that, you know, to collect. You can collect really cool pieces of jewelry for crafting.
Right. See, I'm not a button collector, but I am a jewelry collector. And I don't wear as much jewelry anymore, and I need to do that more. But it's because I've taken it all apart and put it into my box for crafting.
Or send it up on a craft, yes.